We're back. We're back. We are back in fucking football in this motherfucking fall, in this motherfucking weather, in this motherfucking great country. Welcome back to fucking 32 teams. Half of them are terrible franchises. Few of them are incredibly bad franchises. All of them have controversy. We're gonna get into some political bullshit. Goddamn every player hates each other's guts at times. Andrew Luck is retired. It's always going to be crazy, but man, here we go. We had the fucking San Francisco football 49ers facing off against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Opening off their season, we're going to go by this game by game, statistic by statistic, and go over what made those games there and what's going to be the premier factor when they go into their next team they're facing. So, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played like shit. As much as Fitzception was incredibly inconsistent, early half of the season he'll be Pro Bowl worthy. Then, second half, he'll throw like it's Matt Castle having a fucking baby with a Christian Ponder. And I don't think Christian Ponder even... I don't think any of you people remember Christian Ponder when he was like supposed to be the draft pick after Brett Favre legit retired after his playoff push with the Vikings. And then had like two mediocre seasons. Teddy Bridgewater and then a Case Keenum and then Sam Bradford, then Case Keenum, then Kirk Cousins. Jimmy Garoppolo racked up a 166 yards with a touchdown and an interception, throwing it decent. Passable 18 of 27. I think he hit his targets tremendously well. I thought there was times when he tried to rely too much, trying to throw from the outside. Of course, nearly every player had a reception. The most were literally just George Kittle getting 8 receptions, but he didn't get a touchdown. I think that got overturned off a penalty. There was like 6 penalties off reversals for touchdowns. The carrying touchdown even got reversed over a penalty. The only receiving touchdown was literally Richie James. I think it was a wheel out for a touchdown over to Garoppolo, and there was 2 pick sixes from Richard Sherman. He hasn't got an interception because he was out for the rest of the season. He had 4 tackles and only got 1 assist. The defense was at its best even though last year it was too young and inexperienced, and the backfield was whack last year, I'm not going to lie. So we had 3 interceptions, 2 were pick sixes straight from Richard Sherman and Witherspoon. And DeForest Buckner wasn't at his best, but he had some good tackles off the backfield. And we were doing good off rushing. Matt Breida had a great 34 yards. Raheem Mortis was average at best, and Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't carry for his life, even if you asked him. The weakest part was literally the Buccaneers. As much as people want to talk about the Detroit Lions and seeing how mediocre it is with Patricia at the helm, overrated Matthew Stafford. At least they have what seems to be talent. Ronald Jones did well carrying the football, getting 17 yards, but barely was even there to score a touchdown from carrying the football, even though he had some good 10 to 15 yard stretches. Jameis Winston got a chill. He threw 3 picks. He had 2 pick sixes. 2 off a 32-year-old Richard Sherman. You know how tough it is to play D-back in your 30s? And still putting up more yardage than Jimmy Garoppolo. Even though he threw a tough, he was doing average with a 20 out of 36. Chris Godwin got the most receptions of Mike Evans and OJ Howard. Peyton Barber was average. Peyton Barber was average. He was taking out some yards rushing, but he was tough in grabbing some receptions. And I don't know what the fuck the defense was doing at times. They were getting over to Garoppolo. They were stopping the running game in certain aspects, but by God. This was just a rough game to watch. Then the Cowboys, what was supposed to be game of the week, ended up in a rape. There was like multiple rapes in this game, and it came with Eli Manning still performing well. He had great receptions over to Evan Ingram. He was looking at his passes. The pass blocking was average at best. It was pretty average. He was able to throw through the field pretty gracefully off post. He was good off deep end passes, short end passes were pretty much average at best. He threw a 30 of 44. And Daniel Jones was only with a few completions. I think the other one was an interception, but it got ruled out. Saquon Barkley. I pray for this dude. He got 120 and averaged 10 a play off 11 carries. He's the best receiving and fucking rushing halfback in the league right now, and he's only in his sophomore year, and he's performing already better than some of the other young players. Evan Ingram's performing well, shockingly better than Sterling Shepard and Cody Latimer at certain aspects, because they were able to pass the ball a bit better from deep, and Eli Manning's more experienced. Obviously, he's going to still get the starting job over Daniel Jones. And their defense, what defense? This is who's on their squad. Even though Eli Apple, Jenkins, JPP, the only person that was on the 2016 team is literally just BJ Hill and Alec Ogletree. And now they picked up Jabril Peppers. I didn't even know he got signed as a giant in Janoris Jenkins. That was average at best at getting tackles. He got some good deep shots, but they kept burying them out. I don't think anybody registered a sack. Nobody registered a sack. At all. What was this defense doing? And if we look at the Cowboys just dominating the entire time, 405 yards, Dak Prescott threw tremendous passes and he killed it. Ezekiel Elliott hit 54. He had some 53. He got some pretty good runs, and he got a good carrying touchdown for the dagger. After Dak Prescott threw one touchdown pass over to Amari Cooper, one deep one down the middle over to Randall Cobb, Blake Jarwin. I forgot that Cole Beasley's not on the team anymore. Jason Witten got a good in round. He got some great catches. And you know why he should be the GOAT. Well, a memorable GOAT for the Cowboys. I don't think he's the greatest tight end of all time, but he's a great tight end. Of course, Xavier Woods was a good shutdown. Got through King Hill and sometimes Sterling Shepard a lot. I think Byron Jones was pretty good. Jeff Heath was doing his thing, trying to edge out and stop Peyton. Of course, the sophomore Leighton Vander Esk would get his sack. And, of course, Demarcus Lawrence. Sean Lee only got one tackle. I feel like half of the team's going to be injured come week 2 or week 3. Because, of course, you know the Cowboys, as much as they have a promising team on paper, it's going to come into maybe hitting off, starting 1-4 in the season, then trying to come back, winning your next 6. So, I don't know what's going to happen. Pretty good game, though, for the Cowboys. Good week 1 against the weakest team in the NFC East. I'm sorry, I'm just a bit salty. Some of these games were just disappointing to watch. Just like the Packers and Bears game that opened off the season. Listen, I had faith. I had faith. I had freaking faith that goddamn Mitchell Trubisky was gonna have an instant shootout. The defense was going to pressure off Aaron Rodgers, and both teams' desperate attempts to just pick up free agents, barely build up from the draft, and just try to rely on whatever worked that got them into the playoffs last year, or below 500 if you're talking in fucking the Packers fans right now, because I haven't made it into the postseason in 3 seasons. And what this came into Aaron Rodgers pulling a huge comeback out his ass, Davante Adams grabbing 30, then Robert Tryon and Travis Davis grabbing over 28 yards. Then some good passes over to Lewis and Williams, and fuck me. The defense was just doing their thing. And it just came off a half-assed attempt straight from Mitchell Trubisky. He got sacked a bunch of times. And somehow they don't have his statistics. They do not have his statistics. They have Aaron Rodgers threw an 18 of 30. Mitchell? No, because they were terrible. He kept overthrowing it out, going post routes like it was fucking high school, like it was practice. And as much as I hate the preseason, it works. It gets your young guys more experience on the major floor and know when to make the right calls. Because when you're in prime time, like Mitch Trubisky was, it exposed him. Trying to overshoot his shots, trying to think that immediately Taylor Gabriel or Allen Robinson would do deep heaves through streak routes and bullshit college plays to get where he wanted to be. That was just terrible to watch. And I'm disappointed because I thought the Bears were really going to make this at least an average 20 to 23 game against the Packers. I thought they were going to steal it against their division rivals. David Montgomery performed well, though. Shocking to know David Montgomery is now a Bear. Even though he only got 18 yards and their defense pretty much wrecked him. I don't know how both. It took in total to get over 30 yards for both Mike Davis and David Montgomery. While Allen Robinson was and Tariq Cohen were just catching deep passes out their asses. While Taylor Gabriel got a few missed targeted passes because Mitchell Trubisky was trying to play like Cam Newton if he was a pocket passer. Kyler Fuller played well, though. Khalil Mack, you can't judge Khalil Mack. 2 sacks coming straight off Leonard Floyd. And, of course, they still have Akeem Hicks that had a great rush-on sack over to Aaron Rodgers that in the first half looked like a little baby bitch. Till another touchdown came opening, like second half, and won the game. It went 10-3. That's the lowest scoring game of the season already. We're just in week 1. And I think Eddie Jackson's injured. So that's pretty much all it, even though I think they have the best defense in the league. I thought the same thing of the Vikings until they couldn't even hold on to the rest of their division. Next up, we had Redskins versus Eagles, week 1. And it came into holding on in the 17-point lead. It was like a 13-point lead, and then you allowed them to just put up 23 up your throat. And Carson Wentz played like he wasn't even injured at all. Case Keenum played average for a starting quarterback job, putting up a 380 yards. He threw a great opening drive touchdown over to Vernon Davis that somehow got emotional. I didn't know he was hurt or anything. There was some average carrying drives of Darius Joyce, the LSU halfback. I think he's a rookie. That was average. He got some decent drives up the gut, but anything than that. there wasn't that much, and of course the Redskins don't have much of a fucking receiving core. They don't. Trey Quinn, Darian Joyce is a decent dual threat, but he doesn't do that much for me. And Terry McLaurin, they don't have that many pieces. And Case Keenum, as much as he was a bench warmer, he's not that bad as a quarterback. They just really got torn up. The entire team. Carson Wentz threw up the ball 28-93. I mean, 39. He got 300 passes, 300 yards with fucking 3 touchdowns. Alshon Jeffrey got a good rushing. I think it was a fake handoff pass. Then Deshaun Jackson stole the show in his comeback game against his rivalry, his former team that he played with. He played for the Buccaneers for like 3 seasons, and then he played the Redskins for like 2. And Zach Ertz got decent out route plays for a touchdown, for some good first downs, and Alshon Jeffrey got I think he got a good streak route up from the left, and he beat out 2 defenders. It was a really good play. Alshon Jeffrey still performed well with 5 completions, 5 catches, 49 yards. The highest was Deshaun Jackson, playing like it was Mike Vick or Nick Foles throwing to him back in the day. 154, averaging 19 yards with 2 touchdown receptions. The dude was playing like it was like when he played against the Giants, bro. When he played against when the NFC East was competitive. When Tony Romo was back on the Cowboys. Or Eli Manning was not getting sacked with a pretty passable offense and defense. And the Redskins were still the Redskins. So, this was a pretty good opening game. I still don't believe into the Eagles. All because Carson Wentz is back. I still don't believe in it. Because their defense does not do well in tough angst games. And even though the numbers were crunching down from the time clock, it could have been easy for the Redskins to just try to hold on tight and try to come back. But they were scoring near garbage time, so I'm not going to excuse that. Win goes into the Eagles. The next game, though, was quite interesting. Because I thought this was going to be just a high-scoring game for at least 30 points. 30 or 40. Not 59-10. Lamar Jackson and Robert Griffin III got in total 6 touchdowns. Robert only getting 55 yards. And Lamar getting 323 with 5 touchdown passes. If you've seen a rape and pillage before, or seen another source of dominance, that's the source of dominance. And if it's up to me to take over the AFC North, that's going to happen to the Ravens 2 times in a row. Because Lamar threw the ball like it was his Heisman year. Marquise Brown got 2 great passes and kept scorching it down pretty good fade routes, and goddamn Gus Edwards and Mark Ingram kept running down the middle and scorching through the fucking Dolphins defense like it was nothing. Over 50 yards for 3 running backs. Anthony Levine, Gus Edwards, and fucking Mark Ingram. I think they have Justice Hill. That's a rookie as well. I think he came from Oklahoma State. But other than that, Jesus Christ, man. What a game for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not the biggest guy on them, but I was a believer that I thought that the Ravens would be quite a franchise. And I thought, after the Joe Flacco era, it wouldn't be that much. But by God, is this team a threat to watch. Because we know the Dolphins are a rebuilding team. And the rookie halfback, Patrick Onwuasor? I don't know. He came from Miami. He picked up a sack. He got 5 tackles. Anthony Everett, Matthew Jordan performed decently. Pretty well was Earl Thomas and Marlon Humphrey as well. So I'm gonna give them this. They might win week 2, and I don't know who they have week 2. Let me just check it out real quick so we can just continue off. Come week 2, thanks. I know nobody has a bye yet until maybe like October. So come week 2, the Dolphins and the Ravens. They might have a rivalry team. And the Baltimore Ravens face off against the Cardinals. They're blowing them out by 40. Oh God! Even though we had a first tie of the season, like last year, when it was the Steelers and Browns, and we thought, oh, the Browns might actually finally beat the Steelers in opening night. They tie up the game off a comeback drive straight from Ben Roethlisberger. But then I watched Sunday Night Football. I saw the Packers and the Pats and Steelers play. It made me want to kill myself. Because they couldn't do nothing with their drives. Roethlisberger threw an interception later in the half of the game. They couldn't even hit double digits. It was a 33-3 victory. You get scorched by 30 by a 40-year-old. Juju Smith got a few decent passes upright, and you forgot that the Steelers were even playing football. They got James Washington, fucking James Conner, and Vance McDonald had a farm and only got like 40 yards and decent first down efforts, except they were barely even close to the red zone. These guys failed in every attempt they had. It was tough. Their defense was getting scorched. A lot. All of them. Joe Hayden got scorched even though he got 6 tackles, but we barely saw him get a pass deflection. Mike Hilton, Terrell Edmonds, fucking Stephon Tuitt, Vince Williams, Stephen Nelson, TJ Watt. And he did well his first last year. What happened this year? 1 tackle, dude? This was disappointing, to say the least. So, Tom Brady, 300 yards. Julian Edelman with a fake pass and threw it for only 1 completion. For first down, and performed well. 3 touchdowns. Over to only Philip Dorsett that got a double team and mossed 2 guys and had an open touchdown. Josh Gordon as well got a few good completions. Julian Edelman with good third down conversions for first downs. And Rex Buckhead kept destroying the defense. I think Rex Buckhead also crossed over somebody, and I laughed my ass off. And then we got a dagger, Devin McCourty, picking up the pick from the end zone to win the game, to end the game. I thought it was going to be Patrick Chung, and the only black people that we allow on the team are defensive backs. Because unless you have like 6 fucking Pat Tillmans on your backfield, you are not using any Eric Weddle on a pretty reliable defensive core that kind of made the Pats, one of the most dominant teams in the NFL. Speaking about a former Patriot that used to play for the Patriots and had the game-winning interception against the Seattle Seahawks many years ago, was part of the team that raped the high-maintenance and incredibly hyped Browns. And I'm not losing faith in the Browns all because of a rough showing. Yes, teams get blown out. We've seen that numerous times before. Remember the times when the Rockets and Spurs devastated the Golden State Warriors opening night with KD, DeMarcus Cousins, a crazy-ass bench? You thought they would be untouchable and somehow they still lose by 20 or 13? And then you see them in the NBA Finals. Everything changes. Dude, football can happen just like basketball. You don't know what's going to happen. Marcus Mariota performed well. Derrick Henry got some deep lunges and barely got tackled from down the sidelines. Marcus Mariota rarely carried the ball. He had 3 carries. A.J. Brown performed well. Derrick Henry got some pretty good, got a 1 reception and ran through the entire defense in just 1 catch and just ran all the way for 75 yards for a touchdown. Dylan Walker got fucking scorched. He scorched the defense. He scorched it. Everybody scorched it except Dion Lewis and Jono Smith and Corey Davis. And Adam Humphries. I didn't even know he was a Titan. I thought he was still a Buccaneer. Still trying to get into that football mode after most of my sports talk being about the goddamn NBA offseason. Even though I should have been paying attention to the NFL offseason. Then, what happened was their defense. Logan Ryan got a crazy-ass sack on Baker Mayfield. Got pick 6. Kevin Byard got 2 big tackles. I think on Odell. I think they were trying to utilize Odell for short passes when it's notified off his highlight reels. And I know people have a random highlight reels. Watch the tape or watch the full game. He's a fucking deep threat and you use short routes, slant routes, and fucking screen passes for Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. Malcolm Butler also picked off Baker. They were that poor. The entire team could barely do shit. Baker Mayfield performed poorly. 25 of 38, got 285 yards. 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Come on, man. Nick Chubb performed average with 17 carries for only 75 yards. Odell only got 71 yards, man. I mean, that's not bad and all, but he was barely but he got a lot of targets for short passes. That's how he got that threatening. He should have got 110 off the spot against the Titans. Jarvis Landry, Rashad Higgins, David Njoku, that performed really well in the preseason. D'Ernest Johnson. This should have been a close game. I wouldn't even mind if they lose. I just want to see that this is this different team than we saw several years ago. The team that lost 32 games without even a double-digit win. And then they come up getting 7-6. Like fucking 7 of 9. Performing well. Proving that they are competitive. Beating the Packers. Beating the Steelers. No, they didn't beat the Steelers. I think they beat the Bengals twice. They beat numerous teams that should have swept them. But Baker Mayfield and his young team, fucking Nick Chubb, couldn't perform well. Not like their defense was doing much better. Myles Garrett had 2 sacks, performed well. So was Morgan Burnett. Where was David? Where was Christian Kersley? These guys should have racked up a few sacks on a team like Tennessee. TJ Carey, Terrence Mitchell. Myles Garrett performed well. I'm still not going to lie about that. But that's like most of what we're going to talk about because Jamie Whitehead, Malik Jefferson, Jarvis Landry even played his lick off defense. And I don't even know why. When you already have fucking Denzel Ward on your team. And Malik Jefferson. And didn't do crap. This was just poor. This was just poor effort. I think this was half-assed effort. It's like opening day of school. And you're trying to fresh out, but you don't remember shit in class. That's how it is. Next up was an obvious game. Because, of course, the Falcons are not like how they were. Matt Ryan performed terribly, 33 of 46, 300 yards with 2 picks. And I want to know how many sacks, because it's the fucking Vikings. 1 sack of Daniel Hunter, another sack of Lavelle Joseph, and another sack off Everson Griffin. The lineman. Marquise Alexander, fucking Delvin Cook had 2 touchdowns off 21 carries for 111 yards. Alexander Madison, and there was a big deep pass over to Adam Thielen. And it was like this game is over. The Falcons didn't even do much. Stop wasting! Devontae Freeman, Austin Hooper, Mohamed Sanu, Justin Hardy, Julio Jones wasn't even on the picture, even though he had the second most grabs on the team. Even most of their defense is injured. Literally, the only team that they have is Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, Devondre Campbell, Alan Bailey. I think he was injured like week 1. I quit watching. And Keanu Neal, that was also injured like last season. And their defense didn't pick up any slack because they only registered 1 sack. The team just kept getting cooked by Kirk Cousins and a pretty good rushing team. Their defense was stopping Ito Smith, and I don't even know why they were allowing Ito Smith to run and Matt Ryan to carry the football when he kept getting his half-assed offensive line to barely even get a pancake. He carried more than Devontae Freeman. I think he was still nursing an injury at that time, but still, this was a disappointing game to watch. Because I was a huge believer for that Falcons team that choked that 28-3 lead they had against the fucking Patriots. And you know people won't look back on that kindly. Because that was like the one time when we thought there will be a new NFL champion. And I'd rather take the Falcons than the fucking Eagles. You know, I thought about this. Fuck Jacksonville. Fuck Jacksonville fans. And fuck the entire Jaguars franchise for fucking up most of the guys' prime. They had the best defensive unit ever. They never thought of getting offensive help after our best receiver was Allen Robinson before we fucked him up. And then you came from an AFC championship to back to the mediocrity you guys always was. Sammy Watkins grabbed 3 touchdowns on your dome and never looked back. Why in the hell am I looking up on the fucking statistics and I see no Pat Mahomes statistics? They put up Matt fucking Moore. Matt Moore hasn't played for the Chiefs since 2010. No, I think it was a bit later than that, but still, why don't they have Pat Mahomes? All I can average in is like most of the receivers, and I know he got over 400 or 300 just by looking at this. Travis Kelce got 3 grabs for 88 yards, and Damian Williams performed well, even though I didn't see much of him last year. Anthony Sherman and LaShawn McCoy, that played like he was on the Eagles again, in his prime, performed valiantly, and it worked. Somehow the best defense in the league from last time couldn't hold a candle to Charvarius Ward, Anthony Hitchens, Juwan Thornhill, and goddamn Tyrann Matthews that got multiple pass deflections and grabbed 2 scary-ass tackles. I think one knocked out some guy's helmet, and the only interceptions came from Frank Clark. So that was crazy. And sadly, Nick Foles is injured. I think he's back until week 10. Then we had Gardner Minshew taking over with 2 touchdown passes. He did well. He did well even though he threw 1 pick. He was perfectly fine. Even though they were fucking up drives. Leonard Fournette wasn't the best offensive threat, and DJ Clark and Chris Clooney were completely clueless. They did do well. And Dede Westbrook is a good slot receiver. I don't see much of Dede Westbrook. Just Jesus Christ, I don't want to see this anymore. This is just a 40-26 victory. Go Chiefs. Next up, let's go to my home. New York. Because the Jets choked. Jets couldn't hold on to a lead. They were holding on to a pretty good 13-point lead until the fourth, allowing 14 points to come out from the Bills. In a rivalry game, Josh Allen scored a touchdown after throwing 2 picks in the first half. Devin Singletary with only 4 carries. And he had the least amount of carries with the most yardage out of Josh Allen and fucking Frank Gore that they're just using as a fullback. And John Brown killed the team with Cole Beasley. That was somehow the second threat. Somehow Devin Singletary is better. And Deshaun Knox. Their defense kept shutting down whatever Sam Darnold thought he was chucking other than a football. And here's the thing with some of these quarterbacks like Trubisky, sometimes Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold. They're not football smart. Sometimes they'll move out the pocket. They'll try to play like Russell Wilson. They'll try to play like any other dual threat quarterback and understand that they're not them. Same thing with Sam Darnold. He went 28 of 41. He only scored 1 touchdown. He should have performed way better than this against the Bills. And this came from overutilizing Le'Veon Bell to this degree. I thought I disagreed because I barely saw much of the running game until I noticed this, 17 carries. The second most was Ty Montgomery. There used to be a freaking Packer. And he only got 2 carries off 4 yards? I mean, 4 yards off 2 carries. This was pathetic. Pathetic display. Jamison Crowder, Le'Veon Bell did not do well. And Robbie Anderson and Josh Bemley, they do. And the only best receiver I know is Ryan Griffin. And Quincy Onwua is now injured. They did pick off Josh Allen a few times. I think 3 times. So Neville Hewitt and CJ Mosley, that used to be a Raven, now out. So that's performing well. They got some good tackles. I think they didn't register a sack, so that's a tough 17-16 loss for the New York Jets against the Buffalo Bills. And we are so close to the end of this video. And here's the sponsor. I have no sponsor. I wish I did, though. That'd be fun. But no. No joy. Then we had Buccaneers playing against, the Bungles playing against the Seattle Seahawks in a shocking close effort. But Dalton threw 35 of 50 fucking 1. Let's do deep out route plays and try to force it over to AJ Green. Make sure Tyler Boyd I just give the ball to Tyler Boyd a few times. And make sure Clevie Bernard just never touches a football and just chuck the ball to AJ Green. But John Ross performed well. I think AJ Green's out for a few weeks over something that happened maybe in practice with the preseason, but he performed well. 7 receptions for 158 yards of 2 touchdowns. That's not bad at all. Not bad after 2 tough starts over controversy. We thought John Ross wouldn't develop because we thought he was just a deep threat to use for like slot performance because we got Tyler Boyd and AJ Green and a pretty average tight end. So we thought for Tyler Everett. So we thought we're just gonna use a deep threat of John Ross for this young guy. So yeah. But their defense though, as much as I like Drake Kirkpatrick, he doesn't do it for me. Carlos Dunlap, they overpaid for only 1 sack. Nick Virgil, Jesse Bates, Sean Williams, they weren't doing well to shut off Russell Wilson or their jam-packed running game. As I'm going to repeat maybe for the rest of the season, ain't that bad. Even though Chris Carson from San Diego State performed averagely at best, the Bengals defense did hold them at bay, but they couldn't stop Russell Wilson after only passing of 14 of 20 and throwing 195 fucking yards. With DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett closing up the game with Chris Carson being a dual threat halfback. And their defense, not that bad. They were really stopping fucking Dalton on this game. KJ Wright just kept slowing them down off the carries, and oh my god, Quentin Jefferson with 2 crazy ass sacks he had to push the Andy Dalton backfield, and some more from Rasheem Green and Jadeveon Clowney that kept going off to stop some big ass passes. So I'm gonna give it to this. Good work. Good work for the Seattle Seahawks off 21-20. Pretty good game. And I'm just going to recap and give an instant prediction to who I think is going to win week 2. Because I don't want this thing to last more than like an hour. And the next game we have is, of course, the Rams. That's escaped. They escaped the fucking Panthers. Todd Gurley wasn't himself. Jared Goff is a generic, above-average system quarterback that only got 186, and they weren't running the fast-paced offense that they were last year. Cooper Kupp wasn't that utilized, even though he got 7 grabs. Brandon Brooks only got 2 grabs. And Jordan Everett was like barely there with Todd Gurley with only 1 reception for 4 yards. And Robert Woods, that was a pretty good slot, but they don't have the receiving core that they have last year, so I think that's the only one they're going to utilize unless they trade for Antonio Brown. That sadly isn't going to happen because now he's with the Empire. Don't want to talk about the Empire. The defense kept them at bay, though. They had some pretty good stops. Malcolm Brown had 2 good touchdowns, but I think the pick sixes came from Corey Littleton, the linebacker that had a pretty good stop on Cam Newton. Eric Weddle performed pretty well. And most of their defense was just shutting off anything that McCaffrey and fucking Cam Newton could do with a bit of their fucking crazy-ass receiving core coming from DJ Moore, Greg Olsen, Curtis Samuel, Jarvis Wright, and fucking Chris Hogan. That had some pretty good showings, busted up some moves so they can cut some room over so they can get decent gains. They're the most elusive team in the NFL. I'm not going to lie. And they escape. I think they can win week 2. I think this was a pretty good game. But if the Rams do what the Browns do for next week and try to half-ass because they think they're still the odds-on favorite to take over the NFC title again, even though that might go to the Saints, it might come to bite them. We might not see them in the Super Bowl again. I'm just saying. Then we had fucking Saints playing off against the Texans in a close-ass game. 6 sacks, though, on Deshaun Watson. And he went 20 of 30 and only got 268 yards. He was still giving it over to the master of the dreadlocks and DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. And except Kenny Stills and Duke Johnson performed pretty well. He was throwing up deep, but the sacks gotta stop. Watson knows how to be comfortable, and he can throw through a dime. But if you guys really want to be like get over 10 wins, over just 10-6 from last year, you guys gotta stop at that offensive line and stick to playing real football. Deshaun Watson isn't a bad player, and obviously coming from like Lamar Miller to Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson is like a glimpse of fresh air because I remember Carlos Hyde from the 49ers, and he's not that bad of a halfback. And what he did in Cleveland was all right. Their defense killed it. They stopped Thompson a bit. Bradley Roby and Joseph Johnson. I think the only person, just still like if they have a good secondary at times and they can perform well, I don't think they can stop short route plays for huge gains at all. And this is without J.J. Watt. Imagine how they will perform against tougher teams. Not somebody as offensively dominant as the fucking Saints that killed it. Alvin Kamara had 93 yards. Michael Thomas, of course, performed well with fucking 123. Ted Ginn having some good deep threat passes, especially in the second half. He performed well, with Alvin Kamara obviously being a dual threat, and Jared Cook having some good saves for third downs. But somehow the touchdowns came from fucking Taysom Hill, the fucking backup quarterback, and Trayvon Smith, and Latavius Murray, and Alvin Kamara that kept coming to the red zones, but a lot of flags came until a game-winning kick from the game winner from Dante Harris. No, not from the Dante Harris. Yeah, from Will Fultz. For a big-ass save, and he only went 3 of 4. Performed really well. The Saints win it. Next week might be a breeze, because next week they got the Rams. No, I'm joking. This is an NFC Championship rematch after the refs. And they might lose because they want to kill every ref each time they take a breath. So, next up was a tied game, the first tie we had this week, and we had against the Lions and Cardinals, practically on paper, and literally the worst franchises and teams in the NFL. Over giving $135 million to a quarterback that only went 9 of 7 and still gets shut out in wild card. Wasting Megatron's career. Wasting Barry Sanders' career. Having a jam-packed team and fucking it all up. TJ Hendrickson and Danny Amendola that I didn't even know get signed to the fucking Lions, but I think they're only doing that because Matt Patricia used to be a Patriot. And Melvin Jones wasn't doing that bad at all. And their best defense, and they allowed this because they were holding on a pretty big lead. It was 17-3 in the second half, and then you allowed 21 points in the second. The first 17 points in the first half. 21 freaking points. 21 points from the Cardinals when they put Kyler Murray in. That's inexcusable. Their defense couldn't block crap. I don't think they even had an incomplete pass. Other than Devin Kennard, Christian Jones performing well. I didn't see much of Tracy Walker. I didn't see much of Killebrew. CJ Moore, I expected more. No pun intended. William Harris didn't do well. Mike Daniels and Darius Slay were not there. What the hell? I don't think they even have Kerryon Johnson on the team anymore. So this was just disappointing to watch. Give it up for the Cardinals. They picked it up in the right time. And, of course, they have a veteran receiver that will not die. And Larry Fitzgerald, I still went over 100 yards, and he's still going to do it again, even though he's nearly pushing 40. David Johnson, that's been there since, I think, the NFC Championship game. Keyshawn Johnson performed pretty well. I think he used to be a Lion. And Damari Bird that had some big deep threat plays to save the game. Kyler Murray performed well. Fuck David Johnson at times because people thought he was going to be a Pro Bowler. 18 carries for only 80 yards. We expected way better. Fuck Christian Kirk. Jordan Hicks. Baba Baker. Terrell Suggs saved this fucking game from being a travesty for the Cardinals. And hopefully they win a game. Give them until week 7. We had the Broncos losing to the Raiders. Obvious fashion. I'm not going to go through that because I'm about to have a headache and I want to go through this fast, but I'll go back on that later. Next, we had the Andrew Luck, where is he? Colts versus the Chargers. And they lost. Let's pray. For Jacoby Brissett, that only went 21 of 27 and you still played like shit against a Chargers team that was just wishing to lose. Marlon Mack played well. 174. 25. They were utilizing him more than T.Y. Hilton. and Deion Kane and Devin Funchess. How the fuck do you fuck that up? Oh wait, you don't have a elite quarterback. Eric Ebron only got 1 reception in the entire game because somehow we forgot it's Jacoby Brissett and it's still the goddamn Colts. It's still the Colts. As much as we like their offensive line, you're still dealing with a different quarterback, and he has to roll with a different offensive line. And what does that come into? 2 sacks. Tough game. Joey Bosa performed well, getting 5 tackles. Brandon Francine, I think it's Francine, whatever. Kaiser White and Thomas Davis performed really well. I thought Melvin Ingram performed well. He got a good blitz and sack. The Chargers were really performing well defensively. Offensively, I thought they were a bit inconsistent. I thought they could use a bit more of Hunter Henry and a bit more of Mike Williams. Even though we know Keenan Allen is their premier guy and Phillip Rivers is going to perform well regardless and take over somewhat a bit of a disappointing AFC West because the only tough team you literally have on your division now came from a pretty Pro Bowler, good defensively Pro Bowling team out of the Broncos and raped it to a shithole because somehow John Elway doesn't know what a quarterback is anymore because I think he still has PTSD from fucking up and missing those playoff games or losing those Super Bowls until he finally won those 2, and he doesn't have to care about the franchise. Maybe we should give Joe Flacco a chance. Maybe we should, Elway, because this is the last game I'm gonna talk about, and it was the Broncos and Raiders week fucking 1. And guess what, guy? He didn't do it. It was a boring game to watch. Joe Flacco got 21-31 and was shit talked the entire time. He got sacked numerous times. He got sacked a lot. Somehow Benson and Mayowa got 2 sacks on them. Clyde Farrell, and they have the most forgettable defense in the league. The only guy that I know of is literally Markel Lee, Jonathan Hackins, and I think fucking Max Crosby and Carl Joseph and LaMarcus Joyner. The Rams secondary. And I thought was the most, and I think it was better than Marcus last season when the Rams were going over that Super Bowl push. Royce Freeman performed pretty valiantly, even though I feel like they should have utilized Philip Lindsay about a lot more. He only got 4 receptions, and they were gonna try. Somehow, their defense didn't try. Broncos defense performed pretty shit. The best player was Isaac Yiadom. Von Miller only had 4 tackles. And Chris Harris wasn't even getting that many pass deflections. So we can just cut that off the water. The Broncos defense is getting older, and obviously it's not performing well against some team like the fucking Raiders that beat in week 1. Maybe getting rid of Case Keenum and giving him 1 more year could have been better, even though he was just a rental. So that was the teams. We're going to go over week 2 in my instant predictions. The Panthers will face off against the Buccaneers. They lost already. The fuck you lost already to the fucking Buccaneers? I'll go over that game as soon as until Monday's finished. Cardinals face the Ravens. Ravens win. Chargers versus Lions. Chargers win. Colts versus Titans. Colts win. 49ers versus Bengals. Bengals win. Jaguars versus Texans. Texans, I don't know why that took so long. Cowboys, Redskins. Cowboys. Vikings, Packers. Packers. I don't trust any of their players. I feel like this is going to be big for the Packers if they beat a team that is literally more high regarded than them. And plus, it would be good for the Packers if they beat two division teams in the opening parts of the season. Steelers, Seahawks, Seahawks. Bills, Giants, Giants. Patriots, Dolphins. Patriots by 60. Chiefs, Raiders, Chiefs. Saints, Rams, Saints. Please. Bears, Broncos. Bears. I was about to say it, but there's really, literally no hope for the Broncos. I give them like 3 games that they're going to win. And fucking. Sorry, Matt Perna. Sorry. Love your channel, though. Eagles, Falcons. Eagles. Maybe Falcons. If they can get their head out their ass and their defense can actually do something. And Freeman is actually utilized. Browns, Jets. Browns. That's it for my predictions. That's it for my recap. Sorry this is going to be uploaded late this weekend. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoy the football. Enjoy it. Bask in its glory of the Shield.